Welcome to the Catholic Cafe, where Catholic truth is served fresh daily. We've made you a reservation in the luxurious corner booth, so come on in and see what's on the menu today. Now, here's your host, Deacon Jeff Drzymski.
Greetings and welcome to the Catholic Cafe. I'm Deacon Jeff, sitting in the luxurious corner booth of the Catholic Cafe. I almost forgot where I was, the luxurious corner booth. Happy to be here, and got an interesting show for us today. We're going to be talking about some serious, I guess the future of humanity. You know, it's always good when you just we're going to lay it out there. So for an important show like that, I got rid of Venerable Tom Dorian and Ziggy Rodriguez. They are out the door just temporarily. And I have got, Sam Zaggy. I guess we call you Zaggy.
Zaggy Sam, yeah.
Yes, we have Ziggy and Zaggy. But Sam Malk.
Hey, everybody.
Yes, was another Sam, but my boss, Sam. So I have to be on my best behavior.
Yeah, please do.
We got the fancy napkins out, and we got the virtual donuts with virtual sprinkles. Yeah. So we're all set. And we just kind of came up with a topic that both of us have sort of been, as you know, in our daily work at the Chancery, we get lots of time to interact, and one of the things we keep talking about is AI, and everyone talks about AI, and there's a lot of discussion in the world about AI. There's a lot of gloom and doom, there's a lot of future and hope, but there's a lot of mystery and all these things. And I thought it was interesting that when Pope Leo XIV was elected, I mean, literally just the day of or the day after, he has an address, and he talks about AI being this, I guess maybe he was kind of announcing why he was Leo XIV. And Leo XIII was focused on labor and the human person and all the things that are involved there as the big challenges coming forward. And then he sees AI still in that sort of labor quadrant as well as an obvious challenge there. But AI being this big thing we need to address. And I was really like, wow, okay, man, he's going right there.
Yeah, he had his finger on the pulse. It seemed like it was a thing, even though this was, 6 months ago or so. But the developments, even since he was elected to now, are just been incredible. And it seems like, in my news feeds and everything else, it's probably the algorithm, which is fed by AI. But
yeah.
And there's so much, the field is so developing so rapidly that it brings up significant questions about should we be doing this and what impact is the use of this going to have on society. And I love that Pope Leo is taking it on full force. Like everything I'm reading is that
there's going to be some kind of
something.
A Vatican commission and all kinds of stuff that's going to happen where people are going to want to weigh in. By the way, I miss hearing your voice on the air. You sound really good. Now, it's not AI enhanced, because a lot of people think like that guy can't be real.
I'm real.
Yeah, he is real. I've heard him. Although sometimes late in the afternoon he gets a little like squeak in there or something. There's some kind of when he's tired. But you sound good on the air.
Oh, thanks. You do too, Jeff.
Yeah, I like to think that. But that's why I fed you one so you could feed me one right back. So the thing is, when I'm talking about voices, it was interesting how we went about this. Like you came in this morning and said, hey, I did a little research, I used AI to research AI, and it's like, I did the same thing. And I just asked ChatGPT, I asked, what are the ethical dilemmas of AI? It's like, hey, you need to fess on yourself. Let's see what AI came up with. Yeah. And AI within like a second has all this stuff to look at. And it's like, wow, AI is being kind of vulnerable to us, and I thought that was beautiful. And I fell in love, and next thing you know, I've left my wife, and now I'm married to AI. No, that's not happening. Hi, Bess. I'm not leaving you.
She's a wonderful person.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And she's not AI. She's real.
I've met her. She is an embodied spirit.
That's
She's
exactly
a human
right.
being.
That's right. Now, you did some of the same research, but you had even a better one. You one-upped me. Because you started playing this thing. Look what I've listened to.
Basically, I did your podcast for you on Notebook LM, and we could talk about. I don't know if we're going to get into the differences between, but Notebook LM will take only specifically the documents and videos that you feed it, and then it'll summarize it for you, help you analyze it in different ways.
Right.
And there's an audio overview that the interface uses in the studio portion where you can have it. Kind of summarize in podcast form the documents that you gave it. So I have little kids at home, and don't have a lot of time to research after work. It's just been crazy busy for us, and I use it as a time-saving device so I could actually listen to the content on the way to work so that we could, prime our brains for this conversation today. And I thought it was great.
What I was fascinated by was, it's like, here's a podcast. It's like it was there. I'm sure it was almost instantly generated, and that. See, this is part of our conversation.
Yeah,
is like that. While that is there's something to marvel at there, right? Science, ingenuity, all this stuff, mystery. It's actually quite fascinating to look at, but at the same time, it's like there's a little haunting part of this. Like, well, how do you know? Because the voices sounded real.
Yeah,
pretty real. Now, you and I can look at like those pictures and go like, yeah, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah,
there's something not quite right, and I don't know how I can define it other than that. But I think most of you who are listening right now can tell when something's not quite right.
Right.
It's not human.
I mean, beyond the six fingers or the
obvious things
the tail on the animal that's like halfway up its back, it doesn't make sense,
Right.
But there's some that are pretty decently well generated, but there's still this aspect of it that just doesn't look natural.
Right.
Right. It's the artificial part of the artificial intelligence that I think we innately are able to discern as humans. It's part of our makeup.
So I am not an AI expert. I'm only expert in what I have, like my data set, right? What algorithm I use. Like I'm only an expert in the sense that I have witnessed this and I ponder some of these things. And plus I've been paying attention to the dialogue, to the conversation that's happening, and very necessary conversation. And I actually think it even is more necessary to have more conversation because this, as you pointed out, this is moving so quickly. Right, there's a lot of people worried, and I can't help but see like movies as prophecy. How often things happen. You think we didn't have flip phones until Star Trek back in the 1960s. Started having these little flip phones, these little communicators, right? And I think about like Terminator 2. Right, Judgment Day, and the whole thing about AI becoming self-aware. We all suddenly start talking about, is AI self-aware? Is it self-aware yet? Is it self-aware?
Yeah, I mean there was even a news story not too long ago. Someone I think was working for Google who made that claim that the project that he was working on it said don't shut me down. I don't want to die. And it was like proof, and I put in air quotes.
Yes,
that it was
a virtual
sentient, that it had its own conscience, and it's one of those hallucinations. It's one of those things that you can mimic. It can mimic human speech and thought, but it's not true human speech and thought.
See, there was another movie called Mimic. I don't know if you ever saw that
was
movie.
Really cool.
It was like some kind of Mothman or something who would mimic human. Right,
yeah.
but
it ate people.
That's right.
Just like AI is going to eat people. Okay, maybe not.
We'll be back right after these messages from our sponsors. Digest-a-Tab it helps your digestion. These are all great points because at the end of the day, we have to find out. First of all, let's talk about what AI is and what it isn't. It's kind of inappropriately named artificial intelligence. I mean, the artificial part, but it's like, look, I don't care where you stand on whether you eat vegetarian or not, but like some of that fake beef stuff, it's not really meat, right? It's beyond or whatever. It's not the same thing. So I guess artificial meat is not. You're going to tell the difference, right?
Right.
My brother Mike still swears that like ice milk tastes just like ice cream. It's like, dude. No, it does not. It's not the same thing.
You've had some pretty terrible ice cream.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dulled your senses at this point. But there's a difference, and so there's intelligence, and then there's artificial intelligence, and really when it really should be, the intelligence part, it really should be like artificial humanity, or something, or mimicking humanity. Because really, what I think it is essentially it's something that uses a huge data set and then organizes, customizes, culls. I don't know if discern's not the right word. but it goes through filters.
Yeah, it uses probability models based on large data sets to say what the next thing would be. What the next word would be.
Like your predictor thing on your text.
Right.
Saying like, we're going to give you a couple of options.
It's like a really souped up autocorrect. Is that what
Yes, exactly right. But you understand it comes from the same principle.
Right.
And where we were fascinated by, like, look, it suggested I say this. That's kind of good. That's what I was going to say. This thing has got, it's like, but I don't think that AI is God-breathed. Mm-hmm. In that it doesn't have a soul, and so it can't be conscious, but it can mimic consciousness. Yeah. And it's like, that's scary because it's doing a really good job of mimicking.
Yeah, especially for those. The scariest, I think, for those people who are the most vulnerable, those who perhaps. I think about you've already heard of news stories where young people, high school aged, are trying to get mental health help from like Chat GPT, and they end up making the decision to kill themselves based on that recommendation. Like,
there have been some tragic consequences that have come from that. Exactly right, and that's just like one of the many things. I wonder if we should look at some of the stuff that, like Chat GPT was the one that I used. In terms of like, what are the ethical dilemmas of AI?
Yeah.
Right. And some of those things are, there's like biases and fairness in terms of like discrimination, like for hiring for jobs. Looking historically, like there was it points out, this is Chat GPT, by the way, fessing on itself, right? And it says an Amazon hiring algorithm that was trained on historical resume data was biased against women because past hires were predominantly male. And it's like a simple concept. And you go like, oh, so, but then if you call this intelligence, I guess we should only hire the males.
Right, yeah. Where's the logic?
Didn't used to, right. For all kinds of socioeconomic reasons, the workforce in certain areas was predominantly male. And that's not necessarily the way it's supposed to be in the future as we go forward. But so it would be discriminatory. And people are like, well, we're going to factor that into the algorithm. We're going to start dialing and smiling. We're going to start tapping keys. And then you're hiring these people that are like supposed to tame the beast. And that can be like a daunting task, because then we're going to, as you know, as we all know as adults, the older we get, the more medications we take, and then there's more complications from the complications of the medications that we're taking to take care of the complications, and it's like it can be this never-ending process, and that's kind of scary. But then there's also like things like transparency and accountability is what it talked about. It talked about the black box problem. That you feed something into the mystery box and it just pops out an answer.
Yeah.
And it's like we accept the answer and it's like, but we don't know how it got to that answer. We don't know if that's the right answer. So it throws the moral world upside down because it has no morals.
Right.
It's mimicking what it perceives. There's an old thing. You being in having counseling degrees and stuff, you've been through all these thought experiments and stuff like that. There's something called the trolley dilemma.
Where you have like your daughter is on one track and then you've got like 8 bystanders on another, and you have to make the choice between which it has to flip. Like someone's going to die, and you have to make that choice.
And that is a uniquely human experience in discerning what is the right move.
Right.
And there is no move that's not going to cause pain, but who's to determine which is more pain or less pain? Who's to determine what's better for society?
Right.
And so now you have this thing making an instantaneous decision, making a moral decision, right?
Yeah.
Not based on morals.
Right. Yeah. It's one of the terms that I came across, or one of the ways to conceptualize it, is it's a soulless apparatus. It's a soulless
tool. But people want to put souls in things.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that.
They want to anthropomorphize. I said that correctly. And it's
I'm
early.
so proud of you.
Thank you.
Exactly. We should shut the show down.
There
now
you go.
We stop on a high point.
Mom, did you hear that? I used a big word. And therein lies one of the dangers, right? The ethical dangers is you're treating it like a human being. Like I was worried about when we got a smart home app, like smart speaker, that our kids were going to start talking to it like it's a human being. Thankfully, it's stupid enough for us to make that determination. But if you start feeding this into like speakers and that kind of thing, what am I trying to say? If we start treating it like it's a human when it's not, there's a serious issue with that, right?
Well, you remember how much trouble Pope Francis got in, God rest his soul, when he talked about people treating dogs as children, like pets.
Yeah.
And there's and again,
like their children. Yeah,
I love
treating
pets,
animals like their children.
but they're not a substitute for actual children born of your marital loving relationship. It's just not the same thing. Mm-hmm. And we can see where you can get into trouble with those kind of things. And I don't know, because we want to glorify certain things, and we end up creating gods with stuff. And imagine, I remember another visual entertainment reference, but back to Star Trek, and they had this thing called the holodeck.
Oh, yeah. Star Trek Next Generation. I love that.
Yeah, and so they would have this holodeck where you could create an environment of your own making. Mm-hmm. And it was like this. It was like in the entertainment wing of the USCC Enterprise. Yeah. Or whatever it is, USS Enterprise.
USS Enterprise.
Right. So it's like, it was right. It was there, and you could go in there and just have some entertainment. And I'm thinking, it's that simple, is it? I mean, because you don't know the people I know. You don't know the depths of my heart. I would not be trusted on a holodeck. Right. It would just not be a good place for me to be. Yeah. And so people that have certain propensity, like a certain who, we'll say addictions or draw or attractions to certain things. So gambling, whatever it is that you've got, the holodeck's going to be your paradise, right? And you're going to end up living there.
Yeah. It reminds me of a scene from, oh goodness, no! It's a Tom Cruise movie where they predicts the future.
Minority
Report, right? Thank you. And they're looking for this computer programmer, and they find him in this VR hologram kind of chamber where you can go and it's almost like an old school peep show, but you can just give the money and then they can give you whatever you want, so you can live out all these different fantasies. Like this one guy's have all this adulation and he's getting an award and all this other stuff. And there some of the discussion that people are having is tied into this as well. Not only is it like you can have anything you want, and this fantasy can come to life, or might drive you to these darker places in where temptation could present itself. Is and I'm sure it's on your list, the elimination of jobs. It could be like some projections are like 80% of our jobs could be outsourced to AI. So you have all these people who don't have work to do, who have all of this possibility of building these new worlds for themselves. I don't know how they're going to afford it, and that's another issue to talk about. But
so there's another movie called WALL-E.
WALL-E, yeah, my kids love WALL-E.
All these people are going around like we didn't do anything.
Yeah,
they didn't do anything. They don't do anything at all. Well, it's interesting you bring that up about job replacement, which should be scary for everybody. Yeah, because we're talking about rewriting all of human interaction, the normal work ethic, all these things. It would be different. And a lot of people think wouldn't it be great if we had this fusion energy or something? Mm-hmm. And my father-in-law, a big fan of that, always talk about they're right around the corner from this little fusion thing where all of a sudden we have unlimited energy. It's I will say that sounds awesome. If you could skip ahead a couple hundred years and you've already managed everything and then you're living in that. But for that first couple hundred years, when we have a petroleum-based society, and all of a sudden every gas station, all the rubber, all the reasons we have petroleum and just how everything is connected and works together in this really fragile honeycomb of an experience. And if you all of a sudden if you replace humanity in the workforce. Mm-hmm. That's just something. How can you do that? You think you'd still have a job, but what would your job be? You don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time. I think that's where there's the temptation to despair. Is I can't conceptualize it, So it's harder for me to have hope in that part of the future that is so uncertain that I can't even think of it.
Well, my lazy gene gets excited. Okay,
right? Yeah.
So and you think wouldn't it be nice? And it's but then always at the end of the wouldn't it be nice? With the answer comes yeah, but I probably better not do that because this is going to lead to something else. And I think all these discussion points they're all valid, and they can have all kinds of seminars and conferences about AI and the challenges and the ethical quandary and all the different things that are associated with this. But at the end of the day, I do think that we just need to talk more and start discussing what is it about humanity. Mm-hmm. Who are we as human beings? And anthropologically, in a very morally centered way, understanding that we were created by God, that we have a special place in creation, the sixth day of creation, and the Lord made us, and He said, and He saw that it was very good on that day, right? It was like we are very good versus just the ordinary good of all the other creation. And there's something special about us. But when we lose that designation in our own perception, mm-hmm. we're in for a world of hurt.
Yeah.
I just, that stuff's scary. So that's why I think we need to talk about this stuff. Yeah. And then thinking like, wouldn't it be great if we don't have to work anymore? It's like, no, actually, it really wouldn't.
I would be miserable.
It's like idle hands or the whatever devil's play
place
or whatever.
Kind of like COVID. Like we had this experiment. That's not the best kind, but there were people who were forced to go home that we could not work together, and you saw alcohol abuse skyrocket. You saw domestic abuse situations get worse.
You saw education plummet.
Correct.
Like drop off a cliff.
Right. Yeah, because kids weren't being exposed to. I mean, they weren't in a classroom. I even see behavioral issues with some of the classes that started. During COVID time, when it started kindergarten, there's things that you can see. We kind of predicted, right? So if AI is going to lead to idle minds and idle hearts, doesn't lead to the flourishing of society, it could be very dangerous. But I really want to listen to those folks who have a voice of hope and how this could be done, and weigh that against this doom and gloom. Because doom and gloom is attractive to us. We talk about this all the time with social media and how we have to stay off of that so much more than what we are. Because you can get pulled into that nightmare scenario. But at the same time, there's got to be hope in the future of humanity, right?
Yeah.
And I think Pope Leo, that's what I'm really looking forward to hearing more about what the church has to say about it, because it's coming from a place of not generating income or it's what am I trying to say? It's detached. That's why we need the church. It's detached from the world. It's in the world, but not of the world. And so we can comment on and give us hope too.
I am hoping, I don't want to say predicting, but I really am hoping that he spends a lot of time with human dignity.
Yeah.
And what separates us from all of creation. Because I think that's where the key is.
Yeah.
Because that brings me to another point that ChatGPT sees as its own thing that we need to be concerned about. Mm-hmm. When it talks about determining accountability, like, so who's at fault? Like, so if AI does something terrible, if it makes if it hallucinates, mm-hmm. or if it looks at the worst parts of humanity and says, well, most people think this and do this, so this is the answer. And then we go with that answer, and it's devastating personally or in a community or whatever. You think, well, is it fault? You say, well, it's AI. AI is it's artificial intelligence. We can blame this, but it's like, well, AI is not. It's nothing but a reflection of what it sees.
Yeah.
And so it's really like, but then you can't necessarily pinpoint where the blame is. You can't say like someone's got to hang for this, lop off their heads. It's like, but you don't have AI doesn't have a head.
Yeah.
And that's the really scary part, because then it's unaccountable, and that's where that self-aware thing mm-hmm. gets really scary, because we're getting to a place where things are moving so fast. When certain billionaires are buying half a city, and then putting this huge thing and whatever,
a data center.
Well, you start
disadvantaged neighborhood,
right? And you start hearing all the horror stories, which some are true, some are not true,
yeah.
And there's, as is always the case, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, is that the boogeyman? Is that the problem? Is it that billionaire? Or is it like the countless, or is it the humanity that's fallen,
yeah.
right? That we're responsible for our own bad actions that are being reflected here, mm-hmm. or is it like certain data miners and scientists and computer whiz kids and algorithm makers and breakers? Is it those people who are manipulating? Because there's human like human fingers in AI.
Yeah.
A lot of people they think it's all the computer. It's like there are algorithms that are actually programmed.
Right. One thing I will say that I want to highlight too is there are people in the church who are trying to build AI that's based on, church documents, Magisterium, and there's also Vulgate AI. Both of those are being built right now to address some of the spiritual issues. Like if you want real, credible information or to learn more about what the church believes and teaches, what it means to be a Christian, what the existence of God, these are places that you can go. So I want to highlight that too, because I think there's incredible opportunity for that. Yeah.
And right now we're using, you do it a lot, use ChatGPT or something like ChatGPT to organize thoughts, organize notes. You can ask questions like, what are the top 10 points that Thomas Aquinas made?
Yeah.
And so it's looking
that's what started this whole thing.
It's a data set, and it's looking at that data set. It's not like perusing the entirety of humanity,
right?
But it's looking just at Thomas Aquinas. Well, that's a little more controlled situation.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
got to put in safeguards
helpful
for yourself. Yeah. I think it's important to know those things.
So we have just scratched the surface.
Yeah,
and we're already done.
That was fast.
Well, I know, but it's like lots of questions. At the end of the day, we need to pray about this. We need to discern. We need to be aware. We need to be self-aware. We need to be aware of what the possibilities are and really where they shouldn't be, where we shouldn't be focusing. But again, I think it all comes back down to human dignity, understanding that we were made by God in His image and likeness. AI was not made in His image and likeness. AI is not a person, is not a human being, doesn't have the value of a human being. Should be another tool, but how do we control that? Man, we got to start putting some guardrails in. We got to start looking at that. And that we also have to beef up our own understanding of our dignity, of others' dignity, and certainly about a moral structure that God informs and has created for us that we should be following. So, Sam, thanks for being here talking about AI. Lots of stuff to consider.
It was a blast, and you wrapped it up really well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's have the Blessed Mother bless us. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Thanks for listening to The Catholic Cafe. If you'd like to contact Deacon Jeff, send him an email at deaconjeff@thecatholiccafe.com. Visit us on the web at thecatholiccafe.com. You can also find us on iTunes or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The Catholic Cafe is brought to you by the Order of Malta Federal Association. Join us again at the Catholic Cafe, serving up salvation one cup of coffee at a time.